You did remote broadcasting at the Dunes
Right.
Hotel in Las Vegas.
I did those for NBC. And like, I had an arrangement that anybody on the Strip I could bring into the Dunes to do the show. A half-hour show, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If there was no one there, I had a budget to bring in people to do it. Like Dean Martin or Jerry Lewis or whoever was there. Like they would have Jerry Lewis have a show at the Sands, but he would come down and do my show, and his show would be late. And that's where I bring shows around. If there was no one there, like I think only encountered that once. I brought Louis Jordan in to do the show. We did the rehearsal, and I showed him his suite in the Dunes. That's where I was living.
You were living in the hotel?
Yes. They didn't even have Negro janitors. I was living in the hotel.
Now, how did that happen? Because certainly that was a time when black performers, black people could not stay.
I went to the producer, John West, and I said, "Why me for Las Vegas?" Little Rock was in the headlines, and I said, "That's like sending me to Little Rock." He said, "You're the best man for the job. You're the most qualified, and they want the publicity. And if they don't want you, they don't want the show."
Oh, my.
He made it that
fantastic
clear.
For Mr. West, because certainly, I mean, we've heard about Sammy Davis, we've heard about so many black performers who had to go in through the rear, could not stay in the hotels.
No, they met me at the airport every weekend with a limo, took me to the hotel. I stayed in a suite of rooms. I even asked myself, I asked Major Riddle, was the owner of the Dunes. And every time I would walk into the coffee shop, or he would send for me and have me join his table. And I said, "This is the endorsement, you know."
Yes.
And I would join his table. The first night I did a show out of there, I had Les Baxter and his orchestra. And his wife was a very charming lady. And about halfway through the show, she called me over and she said, "Mr. Adams, you know you're saying Les Brown and his orchestra." I said, "Thank you." And I went back and corrected it. And when that show was over, I do not perspire here under pressure. It comes down my back. It rolls straight down my spine. I was wringing wet. And when the show was over, I said, "Thank you, Jesus, I can get off this stage," because I'm looking at all of these people looking at me and everything. And when the show is over, Les Baxter walked up to me and he said, "Joe, you've done such a wonderful job for NBC. We'd like to have you MC our show." I just want to get off the stage. I said, "Well, I'd really like to, except that I don't know the rundown of your show." He said, "We anticipated that. We had it typed for you." And he
there you go again.
And I do the show. When that's over, the maitre d' tells me, "There's a party that would like to have you join them ringside." I just want to get out of this place. So I go ringside, and it's Rex Bell, who is the lieutenant governor of Nevada, and he's there with two young ladies. One is the editor, the theatrical editor for McCall's, and I've forgotten what the other one was. But that night, they want to do the Strip. So they take me, we drag and we do the Strip.
And there was a Strip.
Yes, but
Las
not
Vegas,
like it is now.
Not like it is now, but just
like 4 hotels.
Okay, I was going to ask you to describe it.
The Dunes was the last thing out there. That was the furthest thing out there. You had the Sands, you had the Wagon Wheel, a couple of more, and that was it.
This is during the 50s?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And Sinatra was at the Sands. And we walked into the Sands. Oh, we went to one place, and Francis Faye was there.
Yes.
And we always camped, Frances Faye and myself. And like she said, this next number, I'm playing for my favorite boyfriend. I won't tell you his name. He's in the audience, and he's a Hershey Bar Brown. Now,
Bar Brown.
Where do I go, you know? And then when she finished, she joined us.
Black people could sit in the audiences then? So that was another thing that was different for you.
I was it. And we went over to Sinatra's place, to the Sands, and he fell in love with Frances Faye. Well, that took some of the weight off of me, and it was nice.
A lot of weight.
Well, they had this show at the Dunes, Minsky Goes to Paris, where the women wore no pasties. They wore these flamboyant shoes and flamboyant hats.
But nude everywhere else.
Yes. And I was in the dressing room one night, and all these women walk in and get nude. I've been using the dressing room to prepare for my show every weekend.
And there you are, an African-American man.
And I said, oh, pardon me. He said, oh, no, keep your seat. And I did the show. And when I went out, I sat in the lounge, and I looked, and there's like 4 or 5 of these women sitting at the table with me. They've gone and put their street clothes on and sitting at the table with me. I'm wringing wet.
Yes.
You know. So I said, why are you sitting here? They said, well, we're sitting here with you because you treat us as a gentleman. You said, you don't understand. When we're on that stage, we're nude. We're making $700 a week. I have no skills. I'm not a secretary. I have a family to raise.
And I have this body.
That's right. And she said, nobody's touching me. Nobody's pulling on me. She said, but there are people in that audience, when they see us there, if we'd come out and sit at a table by ourselves, they would be right over there pawing all over us. So we come and sit with you because you're a gentleman, and they're not going to bother us.
That's very nice.
And Major Riddle told me, I asked him, I said, why is it that you don't allow Negroes in the casino? He said, because, Joe, if they conducted themselves half the way you do, the doors would be wide open. That's what they told me then. I said, well, I'm sure there's a lot. I'm not a special person. Mm-hmm. I said, that's your conception. I'm not Larry, the show in Harlem, Larry, he had the dance, he had a troupe.
You mean the Cotton Club?
Yes.
Yes.
The Larry, not in Harlem, in Atlantic City.
Oh, Atlantic City.
Yeah, Larry.
I'm sorry, I wish I could help you.
Well, it's before your time.
Oh, yes.
He had this show, and he brought his show there. He couldn't come out front.
I see.
The girls couldn't come out front. They finally had decided to let me use the dressing rooms, but they could come out front with me.
That is quite. When did Vegas change its racial policies? Do you remember?
No, I really don't, because Dorothy and all these people had problems. I had none, and like I said, they didn't have Negro janitors. I went into any room, but one of the things is I don't gamble, but I walked all through the casinos.
What about, well, you were talking about the black domestic workers
None.
Before, but did anyone try to sabotage your room at
No.
the suite that you had at the Dunes Hotel? They cleaned your room
No.
thoroughly?
Everybody treated
you
like,
well.
Like a doll.
Nothing wrong with your food.
I got hungry for some soul food one day, and I went out and took the limousine because I didn't want anybody to know where I was going. I didn't want. Now I had a driver full time, but I took the limousine and drove behind the Iron Curtain and went over to this little restaurant. And what I didn't know is they'd put out a bulletin that the car had been stolen. And when I brought it back, everybody was looking for the car.
Yes.
Because I hadn't told anybody that I was going. I just took the car and left.
It's just extraordinary that you were allowed to stay in there.
Nobody bothered me.
Wow.
Everybody treated me so nice. Everybody. And I guess this was the endorsement Rex Bell walked me into all of these clubs and everything, that, hey, he's with us. And everybody treated me that way the whole time, every weekend when I would go there.